Hey everybody, Ryan Bailey here. I'm sharing with you guys today a class on the neck and the shoulder area. So we're going to focus on the upper complex of the body, and we're going to use a host of things. So some of it will be some yoga, and some of it will use some props. If you don't have the props that I have, I'll try to offer you some alternatives or an alternative position for that, or you can just skip past that. I want to try to make this accessible to everyone, but also there's some tools that we use that we really, really like and I think are really effective. So I want to share with you from that perspective today. So the first thing we're going to do is start off with the neck. And so we're going to start off with some simple mobilizations, and that'll be kind of a theme that we work with. We'll start with mobilization, move into a stretch. So just follow along, and if at any point in time you want to stop the video and work some stuff out and then get back on, that's great. So if you can start, I like to have some padding, just for some seated work. So the first thing I want to do is just whatever makes you comfortable in a seated position. And what I want you to do is just sit up super tall and just start to engage a little bit of the core, pelvic floor, and spinal muscles. And we're just going to take some simple head circles. So just working very slowly in a pain-free range of motion. And so you're going to work up and around. And I don't want you to force end range of motion. We'll just start off very simply working. And again, if you get any sharp pain, you want to just try to limit that range of motion as best as you can. And then we'll switch directions, just moving the chin down and around. And this is just an essential kind of warm-up for the neck. And as you do this, again, using a little core strength and just tapping into the breath. You don't need to use like a ujjayi breath or anything, just breathing slow and smoothly to support that spiraling energy of the head and neck. And then we'll come back to center. Okay, so you kind of roll the shoulders around. Again, we're just warming up. I'm just assuming, we can use this for many different things. This could be for prep for your yoga practice or any kind of exercise, or kind of winding down, at the end of the day or first thing in the morning. You can use it anytime. Okay, then next I want to get very specific. So I want you to tuck the chin in. You can even manually press it back so the ears line up with the shoulders a little bit. And then I'm going to have you tuck the chin to the chest and then just do a half circle where the chin is going towards the left shoulder, and then you're going to come back to center, keeping the chin tucked as if you're holding something between the chin and the sternum, and then to the right, center. We'll go to the left, and then back to center, and to the right. And then we'll do one more to center. And to the right. And then very slowly get to center and then pull the head back up. So we're going to work some of the different range of motions. I would consider these, you can feel them as a stretch, but more of mobilization. Again, we're trying to warm up kind of the ligaments, the tissue, the vertebrae around the cervical spine. So the next movement, we would do flexion and extension. So again, sitting tall, and if you need a brace or props, to just add blocks underneath it if that's more comfortable. And ideally, you'd keep the body pretty strong and solid. So if you want to ground the energy down through the hands, or again, hold to the shins, is good too. And we're going to work chin tucked. And then slowly pull the shoulders back, pull the ears back, and look up. And then slowly bring it back down. Chin to chest, just whatever range of motion you have is fine. And the one little tip I want to offer is, as you go to lift the chin, keep the teeth together. And imagine you're reaching the chin to the ceiling so you can feel that front portion of the neck. And then back down. Okay, 3 more. Inhale, going up. Exhale, tucking slow. And one up again. All right, let's do one more round together. Inhale. And exhale. Okay, next we'll work laterally, okay? So you're gonna, again, draw the head back, okay? And you can bring the hands down for this and just simply move like ear to shoulder. It doesn't seem like much, but these muscles are much smaller, obviously, than the bigger muscles that we're used to using, you know, for other parts of exercise, things like that. And so these are small muscle groups that stabilize, and they do a lot of work even for respiratory purposes. And so we're just moving side to side, just ear to shoulder. Again, you may feel some limitation. I'm feeling a little limitation, a little tight from practice this morning. So you're just side to side. And what you want to notice is that you don't twist the head. You really want to keep the chin neutral. Even if you feel restriction, so if you go to the right and you don't feel much range of motion, it's okay. Like, don't try to bypass it and move around. Just keep the chin tucked. Okay, we'll do one more to each side. All right, then back to center. Then we're gonna do around 5 more, just full circles of the neck. So you're gonna tuck the chin, draw up and around. And again, you can start, as you warm up, you can start to work a little bit more of the range of motion, but remember, we want to be pain-free. So if you feel any sharp pain, you could either skip it, or I'm gonna minimize the circle and like work around that for now. 4, one more. And 5, and then I'm gonna get to center and go back the other way for 5. Okay, one more. You might hear some interesting sounds, just some like crunching, or you know, if it's quiet enough where you are, that just you kind of feel those articulating surfaces, you hear them. So again, don't panic, just as long as there's no sharp pain, but you might get some popping and some, you know, vertebrae like kind of popping and rolling around each other. And again, if it's pain-free, we're good. Okay, and the next thing that I would consider using would be then to incorporate a lacrosse ball. So if you don't have a lacrosse ball, a tennis ball could work really well. Or if your dog has a dog toy and you could clean it off, like that could work. But if you don't have that at all, then you could do some manual manipulation on the occipital ridge. So I want to work with this muscle of the levator. And so we're going to work on right at the base of the skull. You can kind of feel it. So one option for you would to show you this way would be to just manually find that base notch of the skull, that protuberance, and then just go to the right and to the left of that and kind of drop down. You can use your thumbs and you can work to just gently kind of strip downward and outward to work some of that open. So what I want you to do is, if you don't have a ball that you can make use of, then I want you to just take a few minutes and just kind of strip through that manually with your thumbs. If you do have a lacrosse ball, you're going to hold the lacrosse ball and try to just work into that same area, just put a little pressure through that. So you lay back, and again, you're going to want to hold on to it because it more than likely will just kind of take off on you. So hold it in place, go to the right occipital ridge, just off underneath, and just put a little pressure there. And again, if you wanted to do that manually, you could take the thumb from here and work that a little bit. We're just going to take another few breaths and then we'll switch sides. And with the lacrosse ball, I'm actually letting gravity help me put pressure This is up into that top insertion of the levator. Good, and then we're gonna go and switch sides. And again, you may need to hold it in place. And take a moment, kind of search around. I would encourage you to look for a place of tension, see if you can get that. And this is more of a technique of a little bit of trigger pointing where we're just holding some mild pressure there, maybe for 5 breaths or so. It's kind of hard because sometimes you feel like you want to stay longer, but it's good to just get in there for anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds and then move away from it and let the blood flow. Okay, 2 more breaths. Right, then from there, I'll have you set the ball beside you, or again, if you were using the thumbs, it's just like manual massage, right? Like you can work through there and strip through there, or even trigger point it. Like if your hands, are strong enough and that makes sense, you could just put some pressure that way. And then the next thing is we're gonna extend the cervical spine here. And so I want you to tuck the chin to the chest, and you're gonna take that protuberance in the back of the head and kind of push it down towards the floor for 3, 2, 1, and then stop pressure, no more pressure, but keep the chin tucked, so you keep lengthening those cervical extensors, and then you're going to press again, try to tuck the chin and push the head into the floor. 3, 2, 1, okay, then relax, okay, then one more time, breathe in, and then exhale, tuck the chin and press. For 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Then from there, you can work some rotation on the floor. Okay. So you're going to go looking to the right shoulder and then to the left shoulder. This is kind of nice because the shoulder blades and the mid-back are supported, which really encourages you to work the cervical spine and not the thoracic spine. Okay, one more time to each side. Almost like you're trying to put the ear to the floor, and ear to the floor. Okay. Then you're gonna get to neutral. Just catch the knees, and however you can come back up to a seated position. And then I want to work now through some stretches, right? So it's good to warm things up a little bit and kind of check into what your function is, and ideally we would do these consistently, right? I can say you could, if they're pain-free, you could do them daily or every couple days. But ideally, if we do these over and over, we start to improve the health of the joint, the function, the mobility, the strength even would all come from the function of it. So the first one we're going to do is you're going to make a fist. You're going to reach over just above the ear so that you're not grabbing onto the head. I'm just going to take a little bit of the weight and just pull my head slightly to the right. And I'm going to let my left arm kind of hang heavy. And so you can either go fingertips to the floor, or you can rotate the palm up. That will open up the plexus of the shoulder a little bit. But we're focusing a bit on the scalenes, like to open the side of the neck. And you don't have to pull very hard. Again, remember they're smaller muscle groups, so they need different techniques and they do different things. So, how you would stretch your quadriceps may be a little different. And again, make the fist kind of open a little bit just above the ear. We also want to make sure the head's not forward or the spine's not rounded. So all of these are postural chainers as well. So use a little bit of the core and back strength to stay tall. And then we're just thinking about bringing the left ear towards the left shoulder, right fingers down. And we're just using calm, easy, deep breathing. You don't have to be like a master technician of pranayama or breathing. Like, you just be cool, like let the body just be supported and like feel some ease. The nervous system appreciates that. and then let go and slowly come back up to center. Okay, again, if you want to check in, kind of move and roll the shoulders around. We'll get to the specific shoulder work, but it's kind of hard to work the neck without addressing the shoulders and vice versa. So some of these things get a little bit of both, but again, the major focus right now is the neck. So the next thing that we're going to do is you're going to make an L with the hand, and you're actually going to hook the chin. And then you're going to take this hand and hook that protuberance again, and you're going to work to press and pull. So with my right hand, I'm going to press, and the left hand, I'm going to pull. So I'm going to work in that circular range. Okay, so I'm going to drive the chin back slightly, and then try to lift and lengthen and tuck the chin there. Okay, then one more breath in and out. Now release. Some of these stretches you may feel more than others. Like certain things you're like, oh, I'm limited on side bending or rotation. Again, it's just what it is, right? So some of these you might feel a lot of sensation, some not so much, and it's okay. I don't think that you would disregard the things that aren't super painful. I think sometimes we're a little bit programmed into like no pain, no gain. If I don't feel it excruciating, then it's not worth doing. And some of these are just really healthy, and maybe it has to do with more about just calming the body and not being an intense stretch. Okay, that being said, we're gonna move on to what's called the SCM, the sternocleidomastoid. And this muscle is a little tricky to get to, but the first thing I want to do is I want to just like have you work into the collarbone and more medial, right towards that ridge. You have this like little scoop right here where the sternum is. You just kind of work down on the right side. You just work through the fingers and then go to the left. Kind of this, you'll kind of feel if you move your head to the opposite direction, just like at the base of that muscle. And then the other portion of the muscle is like right on the outside of the mandible. So right in through here. Okay, so the way that we get to it is there's a few parts to it, right? So we're gonna do this in a very systematic way. So just watch me do it, and then I'll give you time to do it from there. But I'm gonna tilt the head back. I'm gonna turn the head just a little bit and then tilt up and back again. So it's kind of hard to talk to you while I do it. So I just like head back, turn a little bit up and over, and that will expose my left side. So if I turn to the right, that's going to stretch my left. So I'm going to go straight up, turn a little, just find whatever that end range is, and then I'm going to squeeze the teeth again gently, and then go up and back. I want to come back out of it in the same way that I did. Yep. So if you don't feel it right away, I usually feel though, like when we stretch, it's a very kind of rare muscle that we stretch. You don't like wake up in the morning and be like, oh my God, I got to stretch my SCM. So it sometimes is really highly sensitive, and sometimes the angles aren't right. So be patient with it. Let's do the other side. So head up. I'm going to turn to the left. Just like find my end range, and then I'm going to go up and back at that angle. And you can see all along that side. And then back out the same way. Any of these stretches that you need more time, again, pause the video, work with it a little bit, and then pop back in. One other thing that you can do is like a little scraping technique, is you can work the knuckles down the side of the neck, so you can get a little scalenes. You can also get in through the SCM. It's just gentle, you don't have to be too aggressive. Remember, they're smaller muscle groups, like really about stability and endurance and function. And so, again, we don't need to hammer them. Yeah, so just like that. Then you can work again down into that, right above the collarbone. I think, just a consideration, it's your body. So like really like explore it and learn. Like what I'd love to have you do is as you do these stretches and exercises and mobilizations is to get tuned in and to get connected to your body and realize, hey man, for whatever reason that right side of my neck is really limited and the scalene and the SCM, like there's something going on there. And that's where I would consider potentially working on this side a little bit more than this potentially. Yeah. So just food for thought. It's a technique that we definitely use in the private clients where we're trying to design something specifically for them. But for all intents and purposes, as you move through your body, just simple concept. If one side's tighter, potentially we stretch it more. Yeah. Okay. So the next thing that I would want to do is start to move into the shoulders, but in that relationship, we worked kind of the top of the levator and through here. And so now I want to work down into the shoulder blade and into the back of the shoulder with a lacrosse ball for a few moments. And then we'll work some specific stuff for the shoulders. So the first thing I want to do with this is now I'm going to take the ball. Again, I'm going to show you from here. Is I'm going to reach around and hold this shoulder, and then I'm going to place the ball right up into the superior medial border of the scapula. And that's just like really fancy. If you reach around, you feel that kind of tension right up into that shoulder. It's not quite the trapezius, like just below that. And so we're going to work into the floor with a lacrosse ball in that area. Now, if that seems like a lot, which potentially could be if you're new to lacrosse ball, tennis ball is a great introduction. Also potentially doing it on the wall, right? So anything I show you on this, you could try on the wall. So I'm gonna lay back, I'll start on the left side. And I'm gonna take this left arm like I'm hugging the right shoulder. And then I'm gonna reach around and place the ball where I'd like it. And then I'm gonna keep holding on to the shoulder, and that will clear the scapula out of the way. And so what you might notice from here is just a little body weight. When you're new to lacrossing, like just the body weight might be a lot, and you would consider using the wall if that was too much. Some of you, if you're used to it, one thing you may consider is actually lifting up. And on purpose, kind of driving some of your weight into the ball. You can always, move around just a little. And for here, like most of these, like a great rule of thumb is a range between 5 to 10 breaths. And then we'd lower the hips down, and I can roll off to the side, let the ball pop up, and switch sides. Okay, so hold the left shoulder. I'm gonna set the ball in place, and then I can kind of move the body onto the ball how I'd like it. Again, pay attention, maybe one side's tighter than the other, but if you can, try to get some leverage. And notice I'm not moving around a whole lot. Like I wanna try to find the position and just hold. Again, conceptually, it's more about like acupressure, acupuncture, kind of putting into the trigger point right into the muscle to hopefully get the muscle to respond in a way that it relaxes. And a little movement's okay for exploration purposes, but it's not a foam roller, so I don't want to roll too much on the ball for now. I'm trying to be very specific with what you're asking the body to do. Okay, just 2 more breaths there. And then set the hips down. Again, just roll down just a little bit. The ball will probably pop out, and then you can sit up. Okay. And so this time, we're kind of creeping down the body just a little bit from the neck down into the shoulder complex. So the next one I want to show you is for teres minor, and it's a little tricky to get to, but I feel like has a great influence on shoulder mobility. So it's one of the rotator cuff muscles, especially for you yogis out there. If you do a lot of, kind of power vinyasa or where you're working the upper body a lot, I've found this to be very effective. Again, any point in time in the video, if you want to pause and explore a little bit more with the lacrosse ball, just go ahead and do that and then pop back on when you're ready. I'm going to move the blanket for a moment. So here you're going to take the ball, and teres minor we want to work is in that 90-degree angle, and I want to try to get right into the back of the shoulder. So just outside that shoulder, I'm going into that crease. So how I would get it is I place the ball down, bring the arm up, and then I'm actually going to roll up onto the ball. And so again, if it's new, be patient. And again, exploring around, moving a little bit is fine, but I also feel like once you get it, you'll know. Yeah. Just don't freak out your neighbors. Like, you find that spot, and then from there, if possible, you're going to work this arm at a 90-degree angle into some rotation. And if you like, you can find a spot and just hold pressure, just like we did earlier. So notice the ball is not moving though. I would be more of a fan of the body doing any mobilization, which is taking the muscle and kind of rolling it over the ball a little bit. Again, or you can just find a spot and just leave it. Yeah. If that's too much for the head or neck, you could support. Remember, there are maybe 5-10 breaths or so. If you're new to lacrosse ball, I would taper yourself into it. You know, just start off a couple, 2, 3, 4, 5 breaths or so, and then just like over time, you know, kind of work the endurance of being able to work on the lacrosse ball. Okay. And then from there, just gently press up, and then switch sides. I'm going to roll onto the ball and try to place it just as close, just general area is good. And then roll up and over. You can bend the knees to 90 degrees. This is one that I honestly try to do daily, sometimes a few times a day, especially before I practice or even if I'm working out. And I like to use that arm mobilization to kind of feel like I can feel some sticking points right there. So then I might just hold that and even maybe apply more pressure or body weight into the ball. One other technique is to swing the elbow in. Sometimes that can help you experience or feel, you know, areas in there that you could potentially unlock. Okay, and then pressing up from there. Take as much time as you need to explore that. I feel like I'm trying to offer and target some of the main areas that could potentially be kind of bound up or locked up. Okay, and again, if you don't have a lacrosse ball, you know, you would need a tennis ball or something like that. I don't really have alternatives for trigger pointing, you know, that. They do have the canes that you could use to kind of get in there. So that would be one thing to consider. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is some shoulder mobilizations. And so what the mobilization is trying to create a movement in a joint that basically is the purpose of that joint. So you can do this kneeling if you want to offer yourself, if this is a comfortable position, great. Or if you just want to offer yourself like a kind of an opener for the legs or feet. So this can be done with a strap or even a towel or t-shirt, sweatshirt. It really doesn't matter, but this is for me like kind of my ideal way of working these. So if you are using a strap, maybe kind of hold the ends of it. And I want to start with the hands here about shoulders distance apart. And we're just going to take the shoulders through their natural range of motion. Okay, and so the first thing I want to do is go to shoulder blade retraction. So I'm going to squeeze the shoulder blade. So I'm pulling the strap towards me like I'm rowing with straight arms. And then I'm going to push away, but I'm not going to round the spine. So I'm isolating, trying to work very specifically just the shoulder blades. So I'm going into what's called protraction, which is pressing towards and then retraction, pulling back. Okay. So that's the shoulder blade position. I want to keep the arms straight as you can and strong. 2 more. So you may feel a little bit of heat building as you do these. Just be patient. I know it's going to be a little bit of work for the shoulders. And then I want you to set the shoulders. If you need rest, just take rest. Then you're going to set the shoulders in like kind of a neutral position where you're not doing protraction or retraction. And I want to just work elevation, which is shoulder blades up. And then depression, which is shoulder blades down, which you might even feel like a little lat squeeze there, okay? Shoulder blades up. So be using the trapezius and the levator, and then I pull down. Try not to move the spine too much. And then down. Up. And then down. Up. And down. Okay. Then from there, just take a moment. Again, we would kind of roll the shoulders. If you want to roll the head and neck a few times. Sometimes we underestimate some of these small muscle groups that work really hard when they have all the other bigger muscles helping them. They don't get to work as hard sometimes, or if we have imbalances, they'll get what we call bullied. Like the bigger muscle group will do the work of the smaller one, and so it doesn't get a chance to develop or do what its functional pattern is. So the next thing we want to do is take the strap and make it a little bit wide and kind of be generous if your shoulders tend to be a bit tighter. And so now we're going to go to a wide position. Okay, so hands outside the shoulders. I just wanted you to take the shoulders into flexion, and then you're going to bring it down. Just kind of tap the top of the quads. Then I'm going to go up, maybe bringing the strap just past the head, but don't force, anything, and then come back down. So just, again, it's more for mobilization and stretch. I'm going to definitely feel the chest muscles stretching there when I go overhead. Make sure you don't back bend and that you keep the body rooted. So I really like this kind of heavy seated position. Okay, we'll do 2 more. So some of you may be able to do a little bit more than that. So I'm going to speak to you guys, and if there's not a potential to do that, no big deal. Just be patient, and again, if you're working with some certain shoulder injuries or restrictions, then obviously I would listen to the body. The body's really wise, and it'll tell you if it's too much. But if you like, do another round of 5, just going overhead.